I want to start with, I think I'm mad at this movie. I think I'm mad at it.
Okay. Are you mad at it for the reason that Chelsea and I were discussing while you were resolving your technical difficulties, which was almost impossible to find because of its title and the lack of hashtags on most search systems for smart televisions?
No, I had a great time finding it.
What?
Oh, wow.
How did you
it just
find it
popped
so
right
easy?
up, huh?
Well, I don't have my TV set up in the new house yet, so I was doing it on a computer.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that would do it.
You got a whole keyboard. You got a whole QWERTY setup.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here navigating with a Roku remote like a sucker.
Yeah, I had it easy as pie. No, I'm mad at it because of its treatment of mental illness. Welcome to Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And with us today, once more, is Nate Ragolia.
Well, hey, it's me. I'm Nate.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. What a joy it is to be back to talk about this pile of crap.
This just Oscar-worthy.
You say that, but everyone in this movie is acting as if they're going to be nominated for an Oscar.
There are also like big names in this movie.
Right?
Like, what are you guys doing here?
There are big names in this movie, but kind of not in this movie. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's big names like it's big names like Natasha Lyonne brought the napkins to my wedding. So technically she was in it. She dropped off napkins.
Right.
I was real bummed about Taryn Manning's spot. Like, she just was in it for like 2 lines and then she was gone. And I was like, man, this is the whole reason I watched the movie was for Taryn Manning.
Is she the gal from Orange is the New Black?
She is.
Well,
Pennsylvania.
So Natasha Lyonne. So both of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so
you're
this
right.
is just people that are in Orange is the New Black. I think I can give some background on the film that might answer those questions. I think that the director, writer is just really good friends with all those people.
Oh.
And by
cool.
I think,
so
I mean,
is the answer.
I'm pretty sure that that's exactly what happened.
Is it still nepotism if you're not getting a good thing?
Or maybe is it friendpatism because they're not related by blood?
It's something. It's an ism of some sort.
Yeah.
It's definitely an ism.
Not one of the good ones. Oh, did we say the name of the movie?
I don't think we have to. I think that this is better. I don't think we should direct anybody toward it.
It's hashtag horror. They have the title up on their little iPhones.
Oh,
they know what we're talking about.
Okay. So it was released in 2015 and it had a $1.5 million budget.
And you see all of it on the screen. Every single dollar.
Like a $30,000? I feel like I'm undershooting that one. Was it $30,000? They had a really low budget for Host.
I don't know. I'm just saying that Unfriended was bad and they did a better job with less.
Correct. I agree with that. And it was shot in 18 days and the editing took 7 months.
Do you know what else was filmed in 18 days? Dead and Breakfast.
Oh, Dead and Breakfast. Oh, yeah.
Dead and Breakfast.
The greatest movie of all time.
So you're saying they took 7 months to edit this?
Yes.
And that probably we should assume that most of that is just in making the cuts as short and absurd as possible while also infusing an alarming epilepsy infusing ear bleed causing social media structure that is embedded across this thing that doesn't look like any social media I've ever used.
I don't think that there are any that exist. And I read one positive review. It said, oh, this game is like Blingy. I was like, I know Blingy. Why do I know Blingy? And I know it because of the, oh no, I don't want to divide anyone. GIF or GIF, whatever you guys want to call it. Whenever I use
GIF,
them,
obviously.
Okay, whenever I use them on Giphy, it's fine. I will alternate based on whoever I'm talking to. I am not strong-willed. Anyway,
code switching,
performative code switching.
So whenever I look those up, every now and then I'll get one with like a teddy bear dancing around saying good morning, and it will say Blingy at the bottom. It is a way to make weird GIFs that are just like shiny. And it was supposed to be made for the MySpace era, but it came out in 2007. And I was like, do they know when the MySpace era was? Because that is when it was dying out. Yeah. I did a lot of research on the companies that people used in the positive review of it, because why don't I just go down the rabbit hole?
Did Blingy ever have the level of influence implied in the film?
So it wasn't really anything. It's just like,
I'm imagining like Angel Fire level animations, like lots of shimmers and colors.
Exactly, 100%. And there is an artist who created all of these like cut scenes where this is happening, where it's just like overwhelming emojis, but not the emojis you would normally use.
No.
Like the Brazil flag was used a lot, and I was like, I don't know. But his name, if you look him up on Instagram, is Tobar Robak. His art is actually pretty all right. I didn't hate his art, and I think he's pretty okay at doing art. I think his work in this movie is something that he should probably not put in his resume. like this is one I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna pretend that didn't happen.
Over that, we can skip over it.
So let's talk about the writer-director is Tara Sepkoff, who we've already mentioned has probably a good relationship with the actors in the film, thus getting big names that you wouldn't expect in this kind of a film. She is listed as an actress, conceptual artist, director, and fashion designer.
I do have a question, though, because you said this kind of movie earlier, and I wonder what kind of movie this is.
My review, and I'm trying to be like more constructive about it because I haven't made a movie. This is one of those ones where you're like, I don't want to be mean to this person, but man, I had to watch it in 3 different sittings because I kept being like, God, this is such a waste of time. I am so upset that I'm watching this right now. I have to turn it off and come back to it. Like,
I love that you are trying not to bully them when that is such a big part of the movie.
You're just like, I have to figure out how to hang this on the fridge, even though it is horrible.
But I have things to say about the commentary that they're trying to make on the subject matter because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense. But we'll get to that. But the reason that I was like, oh, I can see why she is portraying the movie this way because she is a conceptual artist and she does a lot of conceptual pieces. In her career, she's done a lot of art. One of them was with Mila Jovovich.
Yeah. Okay,
thank you. Every now and then I don't pronounce names right, and by every now and then I mean 90% of the time.
Just with Carrie Elwes.
All right, thanks, guys. I have now lost where I was.
You were saying that she's a conceptual artist.
Yes, and she's a conceptual artist. Even with the premiere of the film, she did do a piece where she did a whole thing on cyberbullying. And I was like, oh, the piece makes sense. Movie, not so much. But like, I feel like she tried to make it like it was an art piece and not like an actual movie. So that made me understand why the movie was the way it was better. And I think that she might be a decent artist. She also, like, her career is that she was an up-and-coming actor. She was in The Cell, and she was really starting to get a lot of bigger roles, and then she ended up being one of Harvey Weinstein's ladies. She rejected his advances, and then she proceeded to get blacklisted. She then went on to start a clothing line called The Imitation of Christ, which reused secondhand materials to create couture items. And I looked at them, and they were actually pretty cool. Like, I don't have anything negative. So I'll say something negative about the movie being categorized as a movie. Like, maybe if it was seen as an art piece, I'd be like, maybe I could see it in a different light. I think that her clothing that she has designed, great. It's like very 90s inspired, a lot of sheer, a lot of baby doll. It's really nice, honestly. I would say only positive things about that. She's married to, or she was married during the time to a Swiss-born artist called his name was URS Fisher, and he was a Swiss-born artist that provided most of the art that you see in the movie, which there is a ton of art, and I was like, this could have been a good like transition from our art series because there's so much art in this film, so many different art pieces. Yeah, and I don't think that it was all created by him. I'm assuming it was all from his collection because it seemed like it had to have been a bunch of different artists, but the art was so interesting to see in that, and I would say that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I loved the weird just normal people masks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was cool. Really excellent as just a set piece. And to your point, I mean, this is not a successful movie, but it is a collection of some really well shot, good looking, creepy, and well acted things. It's just tying all of them together doesn't happen in a way that's even remotely satisfying.
Exactly to your point. There's like a part where they're dancing in the masks, and I was like, this would have been this is a fun scene, but I hate this existence in this narrative. Like, it doesn't make sense to what's happening, and the fact that they continue to wear the masks also doesn't make sense. I have a lot of feelings as having been a teenage girl and watching that as well. But the reason she had conceived of the film because she was talking to one of her friend's daughters, and she was like, "What would you think horror is?" And the kids said cyberbullying is what they would consider to be horror. So then she wanted to make a movie about cyberbullying. I don't know if you guys watched the movie, because of course you did. There wasn't really any cyberbullying. It was mostly person bullying.
It's legit just people being awful to each other at all ages available.
And I think that the whole concept of cyberbullying is the fact that you have a screen to protect you from the mean things you're saying to other people, which Unfriended did do very well. Which, I mean, did this just like make Unfriended like 10 tiers better than it was?
Well, it's just like Unfriended is a cohesive narrative. Even if it's not well done, it's at least like it has an arc that's easy to follow that isn't just sort of like, hey, the one kid who was potentially mentally unstable in the beginning of the movie is the problem the whole time, and none of these other people are the problem. And it's like, well, but that's bullshit. Like it once again like leaves me with this dissatisfied, we missed the mark in serving the purpose sort of feeling, right? Like Unfriended failed because there was no redemption of anything. There was no lesson learned, and there was no sort of sense that like, oh, the person whose life was taken by cyberbullying got their recompense for what happened to them. And this movie has a similar problem, which is just like, it just unwinds into like a zany thrasher explosion of nonsense and doesn't resolve or even feel like it cares about any of that stuff. And then the fucking button on the end of the movie where suddenly it's like, hey, on a global level, here's the manifesto that this girl recorded where she's sort of saying that she's going to do this, but like we should talk about the movie in order some, because I feel like at this point we're kind of just...
One last fun fact. The house that it was shot in, which the character will be introduced to later as Timothy Hutton's house. He is the Mr. White, the doctor. Dr. White. It is his home. It is his actual home. So where did the $1.5 million go?
That's what he charged for using the home.
Oh, I would do that. That was a nice-ass home, honestly. That was probably, I was like, I like this home. That's pretty good.
That's sort of embarrassing for him. Like, that house was too nice. You shouldn't live in that.
Also, like, why are you showing people where you live? Because now it's like, let's go find his house and look at him. There's no walls. We can just look at him. All we want.
You can just watch.
Which also poses a problem for the movie, because there's a lot of times when you see somebody watching them, but it's like they can't see them. And I was like, you can fucking see them.
Yeah.
You can see them. Especially
when most of the movie takes place in like mid-afternoon. Yep. It's barely dusk/dark at any point, but they act like it's so dark that you wouldn't be able to see out the windows with the interior lights on. Which that's the only way that works, right? Is that like if you have the lights on in your room, you can't see out, but people can see in. Odd stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that this was a metaphor for how self-involved the girls are, that they can't even notice who's watching them? No, of course they didn't mean that. I'm pulling this out of my ass.
There was a part when I was watching the movie in my notes where I said, is this movie just way smarter than I will ever be and I'm not understanding it? And then I immediately was like, no, fuck no, that's not what's happening.
This movie is fodder for a really good intro college essay about something, because it has so many different components of things that you can cobble 5 paragraphs together about whatever you think this thing was, and no one could prove you wrong. There's no way to say, unless we sat the director down and said, hey, does this stuff add up to this?
And then I would be like, words belong to their readers. I'm a postmodernist. Your opinions don't mean shit. Before we get too far away from Unfriended, I do want to say one thing. I was listening to a podcast last night about horror movies, and they recommended Unfriended 2.
Dark Web?
The Dark Web. So I guess that's on my to watch list. Yeah, so I guess we could talk about this.
Or we can just keep talking about Unfriended. Did you guys see Moses Storm's HBO special, Trash White? Yeah.
Not yet.
No. Yeah, I'll just plug that. I really loved it. It was like a really good storytelling and comedy thing. And it was multimedia.
Yeah, I was seeing reviews that were like, is this what comedy is going to look like going forward? Like, it sounds like he did a bunch of new stuff. I'm
It
excited.
was really good.
Whoa,
Yep.
cool. Okay, now I'm in.
Yeah, I would recommend. There was one part where I had to pause it because I was laughing so hard that it like hurt. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
a good sign. That's a good
Yeah.
sign.
anyway, let's jump into the movie.
My very first note is, what year is this? How old is this car? Because we open on this red Ferrari, which is it vintage? Is it an antique? Is it a
So-
collector's item?
To that point, did you see the headrest on it?
No.
The headrest was shit. Like it was like, oh man, it reminded me of like my father's car when I was a kid that had a headrest that was like all the leather was peeling, fake leather. It's not real. The interior was
Oh.
peeling and you could see the inside. Like it looked like a shitty interior. So they
Is
had to
it
go
Timothy
borrow that.
Hutton's Ferrari? Or maybe Balthazar Getty drove it there.
Maybe it
You never
was.
know. I mean,
feel
he
like
could have got
everyone
it
used
from
their-
his lost highway money, and he's like, I'll bring my car to the movie. I don't care.
Yeah,
Wait, so which one is Balthazar?
He's
father.
the dad from the beginning of the movie.
Oh, okay. So he's in it for like 20 seconds. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So and
okay.
he's one of the big names in the film. Big names. quote
Oh,
unquote.
I didn't recognize him. My bad.
Yeah, I didn't recognize him either, and then I looked at the wiki, and I was like, oh, Balthazar
I
Getty.
did.
Which one? Oh, he was that guy. Oh.
I've been watching. I had watched Brothers and Sisters recently, which is a very long series that lasted from 2006 to 2011. But it's a family drama, which I tend to watch.
Isn't Callista Flockhart in that movie? Or
Yeah,
that
she
show?
is. Yeah, she totally is. She plays one of the sisters in Brothers and Sisters. I don't really know anybody else from the cast.
I guess we could talk about what happens in this opening scene and not just the car.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
Okay.
So Balthazar Getty is leaving his house. He's married to Chloe Sevigny, and they're having a cell phone conversation. And he's like, "Hey, I gotta go because I got this work thing." But he clearly has like a young 20-something art dealer gal in
Which
the
is his
passenger
work
seat.
thing, I would
Which
say.
is work thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And she kind of calls him on it, but he kind of blows it off because clearly this has been the jam for this marriage for however long. And so they like drive off and they fuck in the car, I assume.
hmm
And then she gets out of the car in the middle of the woods for some reason,
Yep. Wearing
in like
nothing.
high heels. And yeah, she's wearing like a cocktail dress, high heels, like a trench coat.
And a fedora?
And we're talking
And a
like
fedora.
snowy Connecticut hillside that she is walking off into.
Where is she going? Where is she going?
Yeah, she's
get
not walking
murdered.
toward a car.
She's going to get murdered.
I guess that's true.
It was the expectation of her life. She knew that was going to happen to her. And she was like, well, let me just go to my death.
And then he and the lady friend get just hacked up real good. He gets his
Yep.
throat slit. I do have a question about that, which is how and
Yeah.
why.
There's a clear alibi during that time.
It would appear that the perpetrator was having a conversation with her father about going to a sleepover during the
Mhm.
time of the murder
Yes.
in the
Right.
language of cinema.
Yeah. That was probably overshadowed in the 7 months of editing. They were like, we got the first part done. We can keep going.
Yeah, like did we jump back in time for that conversation over
Yeah, was
tea
this like a
where she was
Tarantino
berated by
thing?
Timothy Hutton?
Maybe. Because, I mean, even at that, whenever he gets murdered, one of the girls, it's like not a flashback, but it shows a later part in the film where she's standing in front of a mirror and she's like, oh no, it's not real. It's not real.
Uh-huh.
And then it just cuts away. And I was like, okay, I have no fucking clue what's going on now.
Yeah, so that was Sam talking to herself in the mirror. And she is sort of positioned as the one who's unstable early on in the movie. Like, Natasha Lyonne is dropping her off at her friend's for a sleepover, and she's like, don't let them know you've been seeing things. Like, yeah, duh, mom.
She keeps
What are you
having
talking
Danny
about?
Torrance style visions where
Yes,
you would
yes.
assume like, oh, she has some sort of connection to the murder in this house. And they lay this pipe about there being like a previous owner of the house
Yeah.
who murdered all of his party guests. So you're thinking like,
Yeah.
oh, there's something potentially supernatural here. I want to jump back real quick because we didn't talk at all about the fact that the opening credits, like the opening credits and
Mhm.
intro of this movie is punishment. It is like
yeah.
it where some movies say, hey, let me give you a little bit of background. Let's welcome you into our world. This movie says, fuck you for watching me. Get out of here now because I hate you and I hate everything about anything that you like about listening and seeing.
We're talking about the like Candy Crush style imagery.
Yes. Yeah. Right at the beginning, just the flashing. Yeah.
It's just all these grating sound effects and horrible flat. Like I tried for the life of me to read the names of the people in the movie, and they come go from the screen so quickly that like I thought I was going to have a stroke.
And I guess that part of it is the juxtaposition about how everything is kind of drab, and then you have the brightly colored. No, it's not. I'm trying really hard to make it feel better than it is.
I think there is something about like, hey, you're supposed to be dazzled by this thing in the screen, and I get that that's the artistic message, but there's just like, if you really want me to be introspective about social media and the ways that I engage with the real world through an altered reality, you can present it in a way that isn't so overtly off-putting as to make it seem to me that I have no idea what these kids are experiencing, because I can tell you, like, all three of us, despite not being 12, are capable of comprehending how cyberbullying happens and what it looks like. And we can visualize how it would be done using the tools that exist. And none of them have to be something that is so insane that our eyes would bleed using it.
Also, the movie doesn't really contain any cyberbullying.
Yeah.
So why make the intro and a bunch of the cuts in the movie be so internet focused? Like, we could have just done a movie about bullying. Like, stop trying to make it cyber. There's no cyber.
This movie would be like, this movie's about sandwich bullying because people bully each other in a sandwich shop. And it's like, no, they're adjacent. They don't have anything to do with each other.
Yeah.
The kids get a gun.
The kids get a gun and they lock their phones away. Like, we're not online. we're just not online.
Sub in the background when I was reading it, when she asked the kid and she found out about cyberbullying, she was like, I was also bullied a lot as a child. So I wonder if part of it was from her own perspective. And she's like, this is how I was bullied. They tried to put in every trope of every troubled 12-year-old.
You know how steampunk is just kind of the same old story, but somebody added gears and a coal-powered blimp to it? Maybe she thinks that like cyberbullying is just bully, but you add cyber to the front.
Yeah, so that sounds right.
Like it doesn't sort of grab the essence of the thing.
What happens next?
It's like a sleepover party with the snotty daughter of Chloe Sevigny and now dead Balthazar Getty.
Yes, and her name is Sophia? Sophie? I'm close. It's Sophia. I found it in my notes.
I don't know why I didn't care about anybody's name. I didn't care about the characters. I just could not care. The way that I thought about this movie is, it's like when you're watching a movie, it's like you're in the same room with the events that are happening. This movie was like being in a different room and like kind of seeing what it's happening, but not really hearing anything and being like, okay, I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
So are you saying that the character that you aligned with most is Kat after she gets kicked out of the party and she's just creeping through the windows?
No, I aligned most with the one that gets killed in the tennis court.
I guess I aligned most with the woman not dressed appropriately for winter who gets killed immediately.
Because you're like, my connection to this movie is already over.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not the kids. I'm not the mom. I don't dress appropriately for winter.
Okay. The thing the movie does well is...
Go on.
I'm on the edge of my seat for this.
Kat is the murderer.
Yes.
But Kat is the only character in the film for which I had any empathy or sympathy.
Curious.
You did? She was so mean.
I feel like the scene with her and Timothy Hutton set up.
That's true.
Like created the reason why she was mean, and I just sort of in sitting with that, I was like, oh. Now, granted, I wanted her to have some sort of redemptive arc, and I assumed in the language of cinema, that she would be kicked out and somehow she would be the final girl or whatever. Like something would work out where it wasn't her, and it was very lame that it was just like, oh, it's been her the whole time somehow through magical child Wood's teleportation / whatever. But I felt bad for her because Timothy Hutton is so vile to her in that scene. And it's not like she's great, but she's 12. And her dad is an adult man who is a doctor who I don't give a fuck if he's divorced and sad about it. Like, you need to treat your daughter with a level of respect and kindness, especially if you know that she's having a hard time with things. Like, if she's been acting out, the way that you deal with that is not by being like verbally shaking her and yelling at her the whole time that you see her, or not listening to her when she says, like, I really don't think I want to go hang out with all of the mean girls that bully me. And he's like, no, you're going to go do this because you know what? Dad needs to suck his own dick for the night. Like, that's pretty much all it was.
Yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from. But she was just so mean.
Yeah, she was horribly mean.
The one that I empathize
I guess
with
Sam
was
is
Sam.
Yeah. No, Sam's good. Sam's like, okay, Sam is the clean one. Kat's like redeemable broken. And everybody else seems like they're too far gone.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I disagree with that too. Here's my evidence. My evidence. There's a part in the movie where after they've locked their phones away, they're playing, what is it? Truth or Dare?
It was just truth. Let's just all speak the truth.
And this is like the one part in the movie where they are like being honest and vulnerable. Like they each tell a story about like the first time they kissed a boy or their first period. And they're like, you see them. Oh my God, they're just 12-year-old girls. And like they're acting shitty because their parents are shitty all the time. And they like, that's their model for behavior. But like when it comes down to it, they're sad that they got called Bloody Mary at camp because they got their period. Like, poor kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sophia did seem like a righteous bitch at first, though.
But I was going to say, and even then, though, knowing her parents and how her parents are, it was kind of like, well, yeah, you turned out the way you turned out because your parents are pretty awful.
Yeah. We keep referencing the parents being awful.
Yeah. This movie's kind of hard to talk about because there are so many parts that kind of are empty, I would say, but they probably do mean something. As we talked about, writing college essays on each scene that we could dissect. But here's
the thing about college essays is you can make up meaning without there being
Let's
there.
do it.
Yeah, we can talk about Alice Cox and the proliferation of quack pseudoscientific health products and stuff, right? Because Chloe Sevigny's character is like obsessed with kind of this like, hey, just chill out and be blessed sort of vibe, but she's also entirely selfish and completely doesn't care about anybody but herself.
Yeah.
Even though she's not wrong to be upset because her husband's cheating on her, and she's sort of like, everybody's complicated, but they're not the kind of complicated that makes you want to solve the Rubik's Cube, I guess.
Yeah. Well, her character, like in a scene, she has a friend come over and she just like gets mad at an assistant who was there for 10 seconds and then gone and never heard from or a part of the movie at all ever again. Even though she leaves at some point, she leaves no adult at home with the kids, even though she has an assistant who we don't ever see leave.
It's on the cutting room floor somewhere.
So much of this movie maybe it was a perfect film and all of it's on the cutting room floor. This is a Zack Snyder. This is a Joss Whedon release.
It's a Snyder film. If this was 3.5 to 5 hours long, it would be perfect.
It was good. We need the Snyder cut. That's what we need for this one. Because I was just like, I don't feel...
Can we talk about what happened in that scene before we dive into it? I just want to bring the listeners along with us. So in this scene, Chloe Sevigny has a friend over and they're like shitty white women talking about the help. They're basically like, oh, I can't get a good assistant. I can't I have to do everything myself. And she's like yelling at her assistant, find my phone, God damn it. And the assistant is like, oh, I've looked everywhere. I'll go, I checked the car. I checked your room. I'll go check again. And she's like rolling her eyes at how shitty the help is. And then she shifts and finds that the phone is next to her in her chair. And then she just immediately laughs. Like there's no, oh, my bad. It's just like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And she doesn't even tell the assistant, like, oh, my mistake. She just says, it was in here. Like, it's your fault for not finding it.
Obviously, she wasn't super likable, but I was like, oh, I kind of feel for her husband's out with this other person. And she's just dealing with, and she's obviously like got some stuff going on, trying to figure out stuff. And like later you find out she's in AA, and half the movie is her being at AA.
Well, and she pours a G&T to go to
Oh yeah, and then when she's driving, immediately gets in her car with a G&T. But there are parts where I was like, oh, she's trying to be an okay mom, and she's like got shit going on, and she seemed like the one character. I mean, not the one character. The children also. Sam, I think Sam had depth, but like not a ton of depth in the character and how they're portraying them. I feel like I just want to talk about each actor and how they did, because like I just want to talk about Dr. White. So if we could just carry on until we get to the Dr. White part, and we can talk about that.
Well, Dr. White is in like the top of the movie. Nate was already mentioning how he was treating his daughter, Kat. He's like you know what I bet? I bet he's a surgeon.
Is he like a plastic surgeon?
Yeah. Wait, no. Sophia said, "My mom hates you because he fucked up you fucked up her tits."
So there's a superficiality undertone to this. In the same scene where they're abusing the help, they also discuss the haunted secrets, haunted history of the mansion that they just moved into, I guess. Yeah,
in the beginning, this was something I wanted to mention. There's construction being done on the house, so it does seem like maybe they just moved in and they're doing renovations or something. And Chloe Sevigny is just in her undies dealing with the contractors.
I thought it was a normal dress, just kind of like high. It was very Britney Spears. But
you can see full crotch.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, that's just style.
Was that 2015 fashion and I missed it?
It's coming back, man. It's a new thing.
All right, I'm having an electrician.
No pants is the new pants.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does seem like they just moved in, but their art is like fully in place.
Oh yeah,
they got the art moved in.
Yeah,
and then there's like couches and seating sparingly sort of placed around these cavernous glass rooms.
So it seems like it's just like an art gallery. So you sit in the chairs and stare at the art.
This house is like the house from what's that Matthew Lillard movie? The 12, what is it? The 12 Ghosts?
12 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts. Yeah, 13 Ghosts. It's pretty much the same kind of house. Like
it's just a different torturous emotion you have to experience.
Yeah. You don't have to put on special glasses to see the horrible things that are going to happen to you.
In this room, you get made fun of for eating a cupcake. In this room,
you get called a liar for speaking.
Yeah, so he's like, I mean, this scene is punishing because, okay, and I know this isn't what happened, but when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this looks to me like the 30 minutes a shitty visitation dad does on a Saturday with the kid that he doesn't want to spend time with. And all he was doing was like, you need to go have a life. You need to get over all your shit. Everybody's sad. Some people bully, I don't care if they're bullying you. You don't bully anybody back. And clearly you're insane. Like he basically just dresses his daughter down for like a 5-minute monologue. He just tears her to pieces. Then calls in a prescription for her, which you can only assume is like a sedative of some kind because he doesn't want to deal with it.
You know what double sucks about that scene is like, it's one thing for him to be like riled up and angry at his daughter. He's playing games on his phone that whole time. So he like can't even be bothered to pay her his full attention when he's mad.
I guess that's a piece of it that we can take away
when you're mad at someone, put your phone away.
Yeah.
And be mad.
All three of us can promise right now, if we're going to ever yell at our daughter, we're going to give her the full attention the whole time.
We're going to put down that phone.
Yeah.
So then we go be with Chloe Sevigny for a little while. We already talked about that. And then we're back with Doctor and Kat, and he's driving her to the friend's house. And he's just yelling at her some more. And he's mad at her now for being on the phone while he's driving. Like, you're a dick. You were just on the phone the whole time. And now that you're driving, she can't be on her phone. Fuck off.
Yeah, there was a lot of anger from him in that, which felt like no reason. It felt like he had some kind of a trigger that was outside of that it just made him the most angry you could. Nope, he gets angrier later. Never mind.
He does get angrier later, but they loosely try to explain it at the very end.
Yeah.
At the end, when it becomes clear that Kat is the murderer, he has like one line that's like, I knew she was sick, but I never thought she'd hurt anybody. Like, that's supposed to be what's weighing on him and making him freak out at the other girls when he can't find her.
See, and I thought the wife was dead, and that was what was weighing on him.
Yeah.
I think that is part of it, but I think that it's a daisy chain of events. So wife is dead, so now Kat is fucked up, so now dad is pissed.
Did they ever talk about what happened last year? Because everyone keeps referencing what happened last year, and I never got what happened last year.
I assume it was the events of Unfriended.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there's one more thing I want to talk about in this car ride. Kat is like posting pictures to social media, and as she's getting likes, her vision blurs, and it's like she's high on serotonin. Like the endorphins of getting likes sends her into like a fugue state.
Yeah, that's what happens to me. Is that not what happens to anybody else?
Right.
I kept getting really dizzy every time I posted something on social media. That's why our Instagram account is really sad. So,
well, and like, and from the art perspective, that's really interesting. This movie is perfect for going to an art bar and having it on with no sound projected on the wall while you're just drinking cocktails and talking to your friends. Like, it is ideal for that. And that stuff's really cool, but like that serotonin haze thing only really gets paid off formally with the very ending of the movie when she's like, I'm going to do this thing because it's the only way that I'll feel anything at all.
Right. Yeah. So it's the connections are tenuous.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay. So he kicks her out of the car because he doesn't want to drive up the hill. I can't remember.
Is there a driveway that goes up the hill? I was very confused about how vehicles.
This is one of those walk-up mansions that people talk about.
Because later he drives up to the house.
Oh, yeah. And he knows right where the knives are in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird. It's like he owned the house.
It's like he owns the place. So he kicks her out, and then this is the window of time after she leaves the car, and he drives away like a person who wouldn't care if he clipped her with the mirror and killed her right there. He drives away so fast. But then this is the window of time between her going up the hill into the house.
This is where she killed the dad, Balthazar.
But how? Because then the timeline doesn't make sense. Is the place they were having coffee just really close to that? And they were like, I'm just going to go on a walk really quickly.
And he was just playing on his phone, and she committed double homicide while he was being a deadbeat dad.
I mean, that seems like the most logical thing that happened in this movie, honestly.
And then she ditched her like murder gloves because she's wearing the perpetrator is wearing leather gloves the whole time.
But she's wearing gloves at the end of the movie too.
Is she wearing gloves? Because he had gloves. He had driving gloves, and he was holding the camera because he was the one videotaping. Because at the end, he was like, "Hey, I was trying to watch her." So for someone who didn't care, he spent the entire time taking video and watching her.
And doing a terrible job watching her because he doesn't watch her at all.
And it's weird because there are pieces of that are posted in the things that are posted with the murders. So who's holding the camera? Because he talks about how he was the one watching them. Do you not know who's holding There's a lot of questions, but no answers.
Is the idea that they're both so wrapped up in this blingy substitute that neither of them are capable of having appropriate human activities? So he's posting blingies of 12-year-olds on his account, which clearly should get his license taken away immediately.
When one of them is clearly dead.
Yeah, one of them is clearly dead. They're all underage, and you are a boob doctor who is like, I gotta take pictures of these girls.
Alternately, she went to a psychiatrist to get her boobs done, which would explain why they ended up wonky.
Yeah.
God. I don't know. None of it makes sense. So they're both videotaping the stuff, right? Like,
I guess so.
He's videotaping stuff, and so is Kat, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I didn't think he was the whole time. I thought she was doing all the taping and that she like had a pair of driving gloves.
No, at some point the kids find Dr. White's phone and they're like, oh, there are pictures of our dead friends on here.
Oh, that's true. They were on them. But was it on the phone or was it on the app?
They said phone. And he did take his phone down into the basement of the house.
Okay, I can't even. with that, like, he hadn't murdered anyone. I think we can
I don't think
say he didn't murder anyone.
No.
But none of it makes sense.
I have to ask, why wouldn't he call some authority if he had pictures of dead girls on his phone? Like, you'd think you would take one and be like, I don't think this is going as well as I wanted it to.
Yeah. I think that he thinks that he can solve the problem himself. Like, that's why he's not taking his daughter to a psychiatrist to have somebody more qualified take care of her. That's why he's doing it himself. This is why I surmised he was a surgeon, because he's got a God complex.
Yeah, so he's just emblematic of like white male mediocrity that thinks, oh, well, I can do anything I want.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Chloe Sevigny's like this sort of white female mediocrity, or like some sort of bad post-consumer feminist that doesn't.
She's going through the motions of trying to look like she's doing better, you know? Like, she's like, oh, I let the kids come over to my house and I show them where I keep my jewelry and gun. And I go to AA, but I drink a gin and tonic on the way there. Like,
she's like hashtag really blessed the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's like, it doesn't mean anything anymore because, yeah.
To use a word you used earlier, it's all performative. It's all performative.
So they start having a fashion show? The girls?
Yeah, they're like dressing up and stuff and taking photos and posting mad photos of them like making kissy faces in their costume jewelry. Or and maybe those were real pearls. Maybe that's where the 1.5 milli went.
There it is.
That fur coat. I don't know how much those things cost.
I mean, that could have been the entire budget.
And just so the listener knows, watching this movie does not even sound as sort of coherent and linear as we're laying it out in the improper order we are. Because you would think like, oh, girls having like a dress up fashion show thing would be like, oh, here's a sequence where they get dressed up and then they're all going to have their own walks down the runway. And they all do have that. But all of those happen in these like chunky, angular, broken up by multiple photos being taken.
They're like blurry around the edges.
And you're constantly getting interrupted with this flashy Technicolor noise explosions as things get posted and reacted to. I guess if the point of the movie was to say, hey, look, you can't focus on anything anymore because of the internet has broken your ability to just be in any one moment. It forced you out of being in a moment for the entirety of the runtime.
Which is a bad way to make that point, I would argue. like if you're trying to make a point, you really want people to focus. I think that most people, when they are disrupted like that, aren't going to go, I bet this is commentary on how we use Facebook. They're going to be like, man, this movie. But also, if that is a point they're trying to make, how many points are we trying to make? Like, let's calm down. Pick one and do it well. Stop like scattershotting your theses. Focus up.
And they start bullying each other, right?
Yeah, they start bullying each other. And they've been kind of mean this whole time.
A lot to Sam, for sure.
A lot to Sam. They were like shit-talking Sam before she showed up. Because
Sam's kind of poor.
Sam's poor and she's new. Yeah, and so they've just been shitty to her the whole time. And why are they hanging out with each other? They clearly don't like each other.
Well, it's like in where I was invited to some birthday parties just because I was in the class.
Do you think
had to
that
invite every girl in the class of
like 12 kids, and
some of them may not have shown up. I mean, that was about the size of the birthday parties I would go to. I don't know why I went. Most of those people weren't my friends.
So yeah, they clearly don't like each other, and I think that there is a little bit of. I think some of it is Sophia's the really rich girl of the class.
Yeah.
So I think this is all sort of a cliquey power play thing. Like, you want to be invited over to this girl's house. So even though
she's the Regina George.
Yeah. They've got to roll together as mean girls. And as long as they're sort of like, if we saw them in the school, they would be a destructive force to everyone else around them. But because they were isolated amongst each other, it's like putting a bunch of beetles in a jar and shaking it. They just start eating each other because they don't have anything else to fight.
Is that what Beatles do?
I mean, the Beatles broke up and it wasn't Yoko Ono's fault.
So which one is George and which one is Ringo?
I mean,
there's a
obviously,
character named
Sam is
Georgie.
George.
And Georgie is George.
Yeah.
Georgie is George.
There's a Georgie?
There's a Georgie. She's the fat one.
Oh, okay. She reminded me of, do you guys remember in All That, Lori Beth Ember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought she looked the same. And I was like, is it just is it her? Did she just not age? Like right when I saw her, I was like,
you're right. Yeah.
She was my favorite for that reason.
I think that she was the least mean to people. Well, apart from Sam, she was the least mean to people.
They all have their moment. Like,
I don't know. She was very mean at the end to the
She was
girl.
very, yes, you're right. When it was just Georgie and...
Oh, Georgie. That's the name of that girl?
Yeah, Georgie and the other girl.
Oh, the other girl. Yeah, sorry. I just already got those mixed up.
I never knew the other girl's name.
Jamie?
Maybe.
I don't know. The names that I have here are maybe Jamie's the name of the art girl. So there's Sam, Kat, Sophia, Ava, and Francesca?
Francesca. It must be.
And Georgie.
And Georgie. So it must be Francesca and Georgie who end because Ava is the one who the doctor finds in the basement dead.
Man, I forgot about Ava.
So they're all just vile to each other. They do this fashion show thing that eventually spirals out of control because like Kat keeps upping the ante. Like everybody's being mean to Kat, but Kat keeps like taking it up another notch.
Yeah.
Until finally,
she's the real aggressor. She goes on to tell Georgie that she should just kill herself. And surprisingly, Sophia stands up for her, sort of.
Yeah, and Sophia's like, you have to get out of here. You have to leave my house.
Yeah, she makes her leave.
And Kat's like, well, where am I going to go? Because we're in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, well, that's your problem now, Kat.
And so heartbreaking sequence of just kicking her out. And she clearly like breaks because, and this is clearly part of maybe the mental illness that Kat is supposed to have. But it seems clear in this sequence that she doesn't understand that this isn't the game that they play. Right? Like she seems to think that she's winning at the bullying game by being the most disgustingly awful person. Yeah. And then when it's like, no, we're not playing anymore and you have to leave, she totally loses her mind.
She loses it.
Yeah. Like she doesn't understand. Like she seems completely dissociated with what's going on and confused as to why anybody would ask her to go.
She calls her dad and is like, and he's not answering because why would he? He's
sucking his own dick.
Sucking his own dick. And she says a couple things that I wanted to point out. One, Mom would never screen my calls. And then the second thing she says is, I can't even see right now. Like she's losing her vision again because she's just so filled with an emotion. And I wanted to talk about, so Mom would never screen my calls. I do think that there is a character in here who is suffering with a mental illness, and that's Sam.
Yeah.
I am not convinced that Kat was. Like, I think that Kat's mom died and she started acting out and was like experiencing normal teenage emotions when your mom dies. And then her dad put her on all of these medications and that led her to be unstable.
Okay.
That might be true.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
I mean, that's if we were trying to find meaning in this movie at all. Like, and I feel like that's not, I don't want to be like, that probably wasn't the intent, just because I don't think that was as well thought out as you're making it.
And then what is Sam's mental illness then?
I'm not really sure. I know that she is like dealing with an amount of depression because they see the scars on her wrist from where she tried to kill herself. And they talk about that. But that doesn't really explain the like visions that she's experiencing.
Okay. So that part I think is one of the reasons that I am so angry with this movie is because they kept hinting at supernatural aspects that have fucking nothing to do with
I know.
this movie.
It was like a tantalizing carrot that.
And I was like, okay, maybe this will come back. Maybe this will tie it all together. Maybe I will be okay by the end. But that's not what happens. To the point where like one of the girls, they ask about the first time the girl, she was like, oh, I kissed someone. And then the girl was like, I've done it. So I wonder if she had some traumatic experience.
Oh, yeah.
And so whenever she was saying, I've done it, and they were like, you're lying. She was like, why would I lie about that? And she probably isn't lying. She probably had a traumatic experience that caused a lot of this. that is happening to her, but you don't have a lot of backstory on exactly what happened. All you have is these weird flashes she has about starting her period in a pool.
Just for listeners, when she said I've done it, she meant she did it. Like she went all the way.
Which, I mean, that means she was raped?
I think if she was 12.
This again speaks to the beef we've had with all of these movies that we've watched. Well, with the exception of Host, which was good. Like, this movie doesn't care genuinely about any of these people.
Yeah.
Like, whatever Sam's going through is so in the background and is so treated just like set dressing, or or it's like, well, this is the actor's secret.
I think it was meant to be a red herring. Like, I think that we were supposed to think that Sam was doing these things.
Okay, I get that, but
they did a bad job at that, because at no point did I ever feel like Sam was doing it.
But yeah,
no, I just got the impression that we were supposed to think that.
I think you're right.
Why would you do this to 12-year-olds, for one? Like, it's an act of violence to take 12-year-olds and parade them around as if they're like 18-year-olds in a slasher movie. Like, this is like if this was summer camp for Friday the 13th or whatever. But they're all 12, and you forget, at least I forgot, that they were 12 at several points in the movie, because they aren't treated as if they have any sort of childness left, but all of their complexities are just they just come and go. They're just swept into the back. I mean, I totally missed the scars on Sam's wrists. Like, I picked up on all the hallucination stuff, and she was being bullied for being a scholarship kid.
Yeah.
But like, again, I mean, it's like the problem with Unfriended. If you want the viewer to feel anything about the people who are going to experience the horror, like, give us a reason. Tie us to people.
We really needed some character development, like, real bad.
I think I would have been upset if Natasha Lyonne, anything bad happened to her. That's about it for the characters for me.
Hate to do this.
Oh.
Is it Leone or is it
I thought it was Leone. Oh, I might be wrong. I'm always wrong. So, you know what?
I genuinely don't know. I'm only asking for the bit.
Nope, I'm probably wrong, honestly.
I
like how we're all like looking. Yeah, could you please?
Yeah, do it.
Oh my gosh.
Natasha Lyonne.
Oh shit.
That's what the internet says.
Okay.
Natasha Lyonne.
You know, I knew I felt wrong about it, but I still did it. You know, I'm trying to keep up with myself. Jesus, how does this keep happening? I'm going to listen to these before the episode. So.
Can I tell you about the best time I ever looked up the pronunciation of a word on Wikipedia?
Please. Yeah, please
do. This was years ago. I used to bake. Like, I would take commissions and stuff and take them to the office. And I thought briefly about becoming a professional baker. And I made French macarons to take into the office. And people kept calling them macaroons because it was Arkansas. And I was like, you hicks, that's not how you say it. It's macaron. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, no. So I pulled up the Wikipedia on how to pronounce macaron, and I'm doing it with an American accent. It's actually like macaron, like you do it with
macaron.
The back of your throat.
Yeah.
It's like the president of France.
Yeah. So I pulled up the video on how to pronounce it, and here's what it said. I have never in my life laughed so hard. I will be chasing the dragon of that laugh for the rest of my life. Yeah, so these girls finally like have this moment where they talk about whether or not they've had sex and whether or not they've kissed boys. Oh, and I liked this scene because I think it was Sophia talked about the first time she French kissed a boy. And they were all like, ew, gross. And I thought that was really relatable. So they have this moment, and then they all are immediately on their phones. And Sam is like, can we just like be with each other? So she suggests that they put their phones away. They lock them in a safe, which I thought was stupid, but they did it anyway. It's around this time that we like learn that someone is watching them. We like start seeing the clips of
also, she's like, I'm going to go throw away the key. She goes
Yeah.
out into the backyard to throw the key into like the forest.
Mhm.
But at some point later, that she's like, I threw the key into the pool. Every scene, I was just like angry with it, like viscerally angry for some reason. I was like, why? Why is this?
It's also like, why if you're going to mime throwing the key, would you not just put it in your pocket? Like, there's no
why
reason
does
to put
it
it
have
in
to
the
not
pool
be-
afterwards. Like, if you're not going to throw it into the woods, just hide it
Just hide
on
it.
your person. Like,
Put it in your shoe. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
Why did we do this?
I didn't throw my car keys away. I put them in the garbage disposal.
Oh, and this whole time they're drinking. They're like little 12-year-olds and they're drinking.
Oh yeah. They're getting real drunk because they're doing a little fun choreographed dance thing, and Sam's getting real tanked.
She's like frenetically dancing, and the other girls are making fun of her while she's doing it. And I was so glad she didn't notice. She was just dancing her little heart out.
enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
She's having a
dancing
good
like no
time.
one was watching.
She was dancing like no one was
Yeah.
watching. And this is where we talk about the scars on her wrist. They get in the pool and they're all swimming. So Sam's finally wearing not long sleeves.
They
And
also
they-
start doing like a synchronized swimming.
No, I
routine.
missed that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
see, that's what I started watching the synchronized swimming routine, and then I checked out for a moment, so I missed the scars
Yeah.
thing. But
Oh, I missed the dance.
yeah, because it's like the dancing with the masks on. It's another one of these like pseudo Wes Anderson-y sort of moments
Oh,
where it's
yeah.
like, hey, what
Yeah.
if they do this thing that's really cool looking and has nothing to do with anything that's going on?
My note about it was, so you just have all those bathing suits? One bathing suit for everyone? Like, did the mom just go ahead and buy 5 bathing suits for these kids?
Well, and it's probably more than
sleepover?
5, right? Because she would have had to have gotten multiple sizes for them to choose from.
Yeah.
So she's got like 15 bathing suits back
And she
there.
probably bought for every kid that got invited, and these are the only ones who showed up.
That's a
Oh
good
my God.
point.
So we're talking
Mhm,
30 bathing suits
mhm.
back there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So at this point, Dr. White shows up
Mm.
and he's just being way too mean to children who
Yeah.
are not his own. I mean, he shouldn't be that mean to his own child either, but like, don't come into a stranger's house, your house. I know that you own it. Don't come into a stranger's house and be this mean to their kids, especially when no parents are there.
In yet another misdirect that I mean, it has like it was designed to be misdirect. He bursts in like a murderer would burst.
Yes, yeah.
Like he
yes.
stomps into the house screaming,
He's very
ready,
scary.
like ready to go. And yeah, he marches to his kitchen and grabs a butcher knife from one of the drawers and starts threatening the girls.
He's like, "Where's Cat? Where's Cat? Where's Cat?"
Mm.
And like, why did you make her leave? And Georgie says, "She told me to kill myself." And he says, "It was good advice."
Yeah. I have that here.
What? You can't bully little kids. What are you doing?
Well, and
Especially,
whenever
like-
they kicked her out, they asked, he was like, did no one call? Why did no one call me? And I was like, bitch, your kid called you.
She called
Yeah.
like a
Literally,
bunch.
the one person that needed to call you did call you. That's your fault, man. That is your fault.
I will say, if I get kicked out of a party, I'm like posting up into the driveway until somebody comes to get me. You know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not wandering into the woods where I'm gonna
Oh,
get lost
yeah.
and eaten by a bear and have my eyes pecked out by a crow. Like, I am posting up
Wait,
on that driveway.
did she plan on murdering them the entire time? Like, even if she had, because she did have the manifesto at the end where she
Yeah, I
did talk
think-
about how she was going to do it.
I think she must have.
Oh, well, then they may have just prolonged their lives. So good on
Okay.
them.
They
Good job,
prolonged their
kids.
lives long enough to get drunk and be mean to each other.
Yeah, that's a good way to go out.
Although they did get those likes on Instagram, so it's pretty good. So Sophia, I was so proud of her. She like ends up standing up to him and telling him he needs to leave.
Yeah, she
I-
did super yell at him, and I was like, I would not have done that as a child.
No, I would have been so scared.
I would have been like, what the fuck? He's like 4 times my size. I can't. And he had a knife. He had a knife in her face.
yeah,
He
so
has
brave.
a knife in their face.
Yeah.
And then but he seems genuinely most upset that the mom isn't there.
Yeah.
Like
he
he's
is very
upset that they kicked Kat out, but he's also just like, wait, why isn't there an adult here? And it's
Mhm.
like, well, you're the adult here now, and you're acting like a fucking monster.
Oh man, and if I were writing that college essay, I'd go off about gender roles. He expects a woman to be there to be watching these kids. It's not his role. Anyway, Sam like freaks out at the knife and runs off. She says, "Oh, I'm going to go look for her. I'm going to go look for Kat." And so she runs out into the woods and finds the Ferrari and the dead Balthazar.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes back and tries to tell the girls, and they're like, they don't believe her.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts to doubt herself. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I have been seeing things. I guess maybe I didn't see it." That sucks, right?
Yeah. It for real sucks because it was also a moment that could have propelled the movie in a
Right.
direction that would be
Yeah.
fascinating. And it's as if they said, "Oh, no plot here. No, thank you."
No plot.
Mm-mm.
We can't have any plot here.
No,
Don't let any
thank you.
plot get in.
No.
And there's a scene here. Is it between Sophia and Georgie? Two
I don't
of the
know.
girls. I think it was Sophia and somebody.
Were you talking about them taunting Sophia about the affair
No.
Yes.
and the potential affair with Dr. White?
Yes. And they
Yeah,
say
yeah,
your
yeah.
mom slept with Hitler.
Yeah, but does he look like Hitler? The only distinguishing parts of Hitler I know is like comb over and.
I think it's his fascist attitude.
Oh, wait. How did they know that Hitler was pretty calm?
What?
Renowned calm orator Adolf Hitler.
Have you seen
Was he
a
angry?
single video of Hitler?
Maybe it's just that German is a loud language. I don't-
Well, I was like, I mean, for a German, like.
For a German, he was calm.
I am mostly German, so please don't be angry with. I thought but the only, maybe I just haven't watched enough Hitler YouTube
Watch
videos.
a single. Google it.
Maybe I'm just remembering Charlie Chaplin. I don't know.
Yeah, you know Hitler. He was always doing slapstick. Lego building falls down around him. You know
With the
Hitler.
clock and he got stuck on the hand, that one.
I genuinely think the girls broke character in that moment. And
Oh,
we're
you
just
think
talking
so?
about Timothy Hutton's rules about acting in his house.
You think this was improv?
Yeah, I think they were like, man,
Actually-
he won't even let us go to the bathroom in here because he's got these glass toilets that only he wants to see his pee in or
So
whatever.
Shitting in the woods for 18 days.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of this was improv, but the girls did go through an improv workshops for weeks prior to filming this movie. So maybe the Hitler comment was actually improv.
I mean, and that explains why Francesca at one point is a surfer who needs to get a haircut. So yeah, but they're taunting because they know that Dr. White and Sophia's mom had an affair, or they think
Yeah.
they did. I mean, they clearly did because he goes and immediately confronts her outside
Right.
AA.
Can we also talk about where are these locations? Like, did he drive to her AA and then he runs up to her? And I don't understand the running part. Were they like, this will come across better if he's out of breath?
Yeah, he's
I
just
think you
that
just
mad,
nailed
I
it.
guess.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I was like, why is he running up? Why didn't he drive his car? Why is this so difficult?
Well, he's very upset because he hasn't been able to play his phone game for
Did
this
he-
entire period of time because he's
okay,
been both
so-
driving and having to be angry.
Did he
Okay, here's
run
what
from
it
the
is.
house? Because he's also recording at the same time. So he's recording at the house and he's at the AA meeting and he's probably somewhere else as well, sucking his own dick.
Sucking his own dick. Yeah.
Mhm.
He's running around. He's out of breath. I would be out of breath if I were doing all three of those things.
And she's going to AA in the cult church from every cult movie.
Oh,
It's
what?
like a weird little white chapel that's isolated in the middle of the woods.
Yep.
So where the fuck do they live?
Middle of Connecticut. It is
Yeah.
in Connecticut.
But like, if he's a doctor, if all of these people are making
He
this
has to
much
drive
money,
into the
presumably
city.
they live near a city. Okay, so I guess that's when Kat killed Balthazar. Doctor had to drive an hour and a half to pick her up from school. So she had time to kill and people to kill. I don't know. I was going to say he drives a really nice car and is nervous to park near people in case he gets a ding. So he parked at the back of the AA parking lot
that's a
and then had to
good-
run to the front to confront her.
That's
Yeah.
a really good explanation because at that moment, like my note is why the fuck is he running? Like, what is the running for?
That's a big dad move too. to like,
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to possibly ding my car.
And
I will.
he's like,
Oh my God.
diagonal in 2 spots. So that
My note during this part of the movie is, what is the concept of time? I obviously was like, nothing in this timeline makes sense at this point. And you know what? It's fine. I think it's because she was at the AA meeting for 3-4 hours now. I was like, I think that they were like an hour long, maybe. And then maybe they go get drinks after or something. I don't know.
In this essay, we'll explore the meaning and function of time as it pertains to an English AA meeting.
Somehow we make this a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's that True Detective. It's a True Detective thing.
Did you guys watch that horror movie with Kevin Bacon and Amanda Seyfried?
Yes.
In this Kevin Bacon movie, the house has a spell or something, and as you walk away from the house, you are actually walking toward the house, and so you find yourself...
You should have left.
Oh, yeah, you should have left. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe there's just some sort of vortex time portal going on.
Yeah, I mean,
woods.
we have thrown out a lot of supernatural things that could have happened that are not happening.
They definitely
You know
don't
what?
happen. They are
It's
paid
because-
off to not have happened.
There's not enough in the movie to talk about. We have to make up these tangents.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But yeah, Dr. White approaches the mom and tells her she should kill herself. Like, we're just throwing that around left and right throughout this
It's
whole
a very
movie.
irresponsible. Like, is that the point? Is the point that everyone is telling other people to kill themselves in various capacities, and that this is the toxicity of cyberbullying? Is the freewheeling use of the phrase "you should kill yourself"?
But
In person.
nobody is cyberbullying. We're just
Yeah, it's all in
regular
person.
bullying.
Completely in person. All
But you see that it's because you get accustomed to seeing it on the internet that suddenly it becomes possible to do it in real life.
You think Dr. White spends his time cyberbullying?
he plays
online?
like a farming game.
Yeah, he's-
no,
So
I
when he
think
goes on the farming game, he's like, I want to trade these apples for some wheat. Go kill yourself.
Go kill yourself.
well, if you're going to give me that rate on an apple to wheat trade, yeah, go kill yourself. My apples are worth a lot.
So then he's back in the woods looking for Kat. And
Yeah,
he's-
suddenly, boom, back in the woods.
Boom, back in the woods.
And guess who else is also in the woods? Sophia.
Sophia, yeah.
Somehow, for some reason, she's now in the woods.
I think she went to find Sam.
No, she went to go find Kat.
Because Sam's already like back at the house.
Sam came back.
No,
yeah.
Yeah.
did she go to find Kat, or was it just to find her dad and she never came back in?
Why would she go look for her dad in the woods?
Sophia?
Yeah.
She did, and she found him. And then
Well,
she
but
stayed
he
in
was
the
dead.
woods.
But like, why?
But she like stayed in the woods. She like went comatose.
But what was her impetus to go into the woods?
There
Mm.
absolutely was not one.
Yeah, she
That
was
that
just
was
out
the
there.
problem. Is there's no
yeah.
reason for her to
Just out
suddenly
there.
leave the house, nor is there any reason for her to, I guess, suddenly teleport herself back into the house, but only when it's convenient. She's like
But
waiting
Sam-
in the woods for a while.
Sam finds her in the woods.
Oh, that's
so Sam
right.
goes back out. But before we get too far, I want
Yes.
to talk about Dr. White in the woods because
Mhm.
he's looking for Kat. He's yelling for Kat.
Is he talking to his phone?
No, he's
Oh,
just
okay.
yelling for her. Or maybe he was on the phone. Like I
How
said,
if I know?
I was in my cups. So I don't remember details. But he was yelling, not like, oh my God, I'm so worried about you. Please come find me. I'm at Sophia's house. Like, you know where to look for me. He yells, I'm going to trap you like an animal, you fucking
Yeah,
bitch.
that was. But was he talking about his daughter, or was he talking about Sophia? I couldn't tell who he was talking about in
I
that
thought
moment.
he was talking about his daughter, but
I thought it was like his way of bullying. To that point, I don't know. Does anything make
Yeah.
sense?
I don't
I didn't
know.
think it was about her, but I buy it that it was
That it is about
Kat
her.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who did you think it was about, Nate?
I think I thought it was about Sophia also, because
Okay,
Sophia's
so
like,
maybe something happened that led Sophia into the woods and he knows she's out there and I
Mhm.
misinterpreted it. Like if you both thought that and I was very drunk, that seems logical.
No, I mean, but to your point, like he was trying to find his daughter and he was like, I can't fucking find you. I'm going to make a trap. But then like Was he he started pulling branches? Was he making a trap in order to harm his daughter?
Deadfall trap.
Oh, man.
God.
And so it doesn't make any sense for the scene that happens later where he's like, I thought it was okay. I'm just worried about her.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so Sophia is out in the woods now.
Yes.
And she's in her little fur coat from Dress Up Times. And she finds her dad's dead body. And there's a gun in her dad's car?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
That he didn't use because... Oh, I mean, it showed up all of a sudden, so you can't.
Doesn't
this
everyone?
was part of the time portal thing. Like, it was there, and then it wasn't.
But then there was also a glove that was a medical glove.
And so she thinks that Dr. White did this.
Because it's a medical glove?
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess that makes sense because Kat would have a glove from her dad because he has gloves. But he had driving gloves.
But also you can buy medical gloves at Home Depot, like anybody.
Yeah, I have some of them.
I've got a whole box.
But yeah, so she finds her dead dad. She also finds his cell phone, and she calls her mom because she's very sad that her father is dead. And her mom is smoking with Taryn Manning.
Yes.
And she's just complaining about how the husband's been cheating. And Taryn Manning's like, bitch, you do you. Tear him a new one if you want to.
Yeah.
This is all about et cetera, hashtag blessed, whatever. And so she picks up the phone and immediately just tells her daughter off, thinking it's her husband, and hangs up. And the daughter's like, but...
And right after that, Taryn Manning's like, okay, now shut off your phone. And I was like, is she the murderer?
That would have been
better.
better.
Know what's is she part of this?
For the home listener, Chelsea put her glasses on as she asked that question, so she looked like a real detective.
I was trying to really have that come across, so I'm glad that you mentioned that.
So this is where the girls, they're wearing the masks again for some reason, the person masks. This is where Sam finds Ava's body in the basement.
Yeah, but why did she go down to... Well, okay, this was another timeline.
When Dr. White was yelling at them with the knife.
I know that Ava ran away, but I don't remember the name. Sam, Francesca, and Georgina are all in the room, and then they're kind of being mean, and then Sam says, I'll leave. And within seconds, they're like, did you just hear a scream? And they were like, yeah, I think it's coming from the basement. And then you cut to Sam in the basement. And I was like, the fuck is Sam doing in the basement? Why did any of these people go into the basement?
So Ava just died? Has she been hanging out in the basement this whole time?
I think so. But then why? Kat's not in the woods?
I guess she's in the basement.
She's got to be. She stabbed Sam after murdering
Ava.
After murdering Ava.
Yeah, that's the question. Why does Sam go down there? Does Sam go down there to look for Ava? Does Sam go down there because it's a direction available to go? None of the things that anybody does make any sense. And while you could, again, like give this movie a lot of praise or give it a lot of leeway and say, well, hey, it's tapping into that thing where horror movies and people don't do anything that they should do. But it's like, at least those people are investigating a specific sort of experience.
Yeah, they have a reason.
Not just randomly appearing places.
Yeah.
Speaking of randomly appearing, my next note is about Sam finding Sophia in the woods. So Sam just found Ava in the basement and now she's in the woods with Sophia?
Yes.
She's been stabbed.
Sam got stabbed?
Yeah, she got stabbed when she was in the basement.
Yeah, she gets she at least gets cut on the arm, if not full on stabbed. But she gets hacked. She runs out of the basement, and the basement apparently also has a door to the outside as well as stairs up. So she just sprints out into the woods.
Find Sophia.
Yeah, and then she just stumbles upon Sophia, who is still sort of sitting like fetal position.
She was just freaking out.
Yeah.
So they swap deets. Sophia's like,
hey, here's the gun that my dad had in his car.
My dad's dead. And Sam is like, damn, Ava's dead. Yeah, and then I guess they also swap the gun.
Well, she's like, I need to get phone. Where's the key?
Yes, where's the key?
And that's when she's like,
we finally have a motivation to do something.
Cool.
Why would she ask where the key was if she saw her throw it into the woods?
And after she threw it into the woods, she was like, do you know where that landed? She's like, I don't fucking know. She said it's in the pool. And then that's why Sam then proceeded to go to the pool to try to find it. But
Sam goes to the pool.
Earlier, there was like a scene earlier where she was like, I don't want to get in the pool. That's the
because
last
she was
thing I
seeing
want.
blood in the pool.
Yes.
Yeah. So she had been seeing visions. So she has to like psych herself up to get into the pool, which she does.
But
And then
why?
somebody-
Well, what does that have to do with any part of it?
Is it just the menstruation thing? Is that what it is? Is it that she's afraid of having her period in the
That's
pool?
what I thought. I was like, maybe she's on her period and she's freaking out and she's visualizing what'll happen when she gets into the pool. And she's like, I can only wear pads, guys. Please don't judge me.
Well, then
Sorry.
it'll be like that. It'll be that bad in the way that they will blow it up, right?
Yeah.
We're really smarting up this movie, but maybe that's what it is. It's like, oh, the pool is filling with blood because that's what they're going to make me think of myself.
This
If even a drop of blood enters this pool water.
This is a story straight out of the vagina monologues.
I think we cracked it.
So she jumps into the pool, even though she's so scared, and somebody holds her under.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this? Cat? Dr. White?
Oh, it's
Cat?
definitely Cat. Yeah, because
Gotta be
Dr.
Cat,
White
right?
then bangs on the mirror or the window,
Oh.
the door, the wall, the glass
Oh, that's
wall.
right. My next note is Dr. White appears and scares bad guy away.
And fedora,
Yeah,
did he?
so
He had a fedora at that time, but he did not have a fedora before that. He had a fedora in that scene. Goes away the next time you see
Do
him.
you know what fedora was? That was the fedora that the
Sex lady.
Balthazar's sex lady was wearing. And
Oh,
then Dr. White just found it in the woods and was like, let me pop this on, try this on for size. Didn't take.
Yeah, he
good on
doesn't.
him. At least he understood that fedoras shouldn't be.
But we assume that he found the fedora on or near a corpse, right? It hasn't been a particularly windy winter day in the Connecticut woods. So that fedora doesn't drift far from the body from which
He
it
just-
fell.
He couldn't see her in the dark. Night
He's
has
like,
fallen.
fedora. He's
Ooh,
thrifty.
is this a fedora? Let me pop this baby on.
I mean, the director is somebody who makes clothing out of secondhand pieces, so maybe it was part
It's a
of it.
found fashion
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it. I get
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what? Maybe it is smarter than I figured it to be.
So, Sam goes and opens the safe and all the phones are dead. Classic. And then somebody in a mask kills Georgie.
Slits her
Yeah.
throat.
Slits her throat.
I know we're saying somebody in a mask. Like, we all know it's Cat.
It's Cat. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, for
Cat is wearing one of the weird masks
sure. Mhm.
and kills Georgie and then kills Francesca.
She's wearing a weirder mask than everyone else, though. It has, like, lips for eyes.
What?
Oh, yeah.
It's a different kind of mask. It's not the regular mask that everybody else is wearing.
Does that mean that this is because she's speaking through the horrible visions she's creating on social media?
Oh
What?
my God. Do you think the three of us could teach a college course together? I'm going to write to universities around the country.
I think with how little associate professors are paid, we could probably pull it off.
We can
I'm in.
swing it. So Francesca is stabbed a bunch and trapped in the tennis court and dies there.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly. Like,
Slowly.
it's torturously slow.
Yeah.
It seems for a bit that she could get help, but we just watch her stumble around and then eventually become too weak to stand.
Yeah.
And then eventually just sort of slump over and stop breathing. It's
Yeah.
really horrible because, again,
It's a-
they're 12-year-olds. This is infanticide.
Yeah.
Mm. She was pretty mean, though. Am I right? I'm sorry. I don't
she
mean
was
it. I
that
don't mean it. I don't mean it. I don't mean that.
Was she the meanest? I mean, she wasn't great.
She was very
but-
mean to Georgie.
Yeah, but like Georgie was. I guess she was mean to her at the end.
My notes from this point out are pretty incoherent. Let me read to you literally what I have written down. Dr. White shoes up, finds Sam, Sophia, trying to warn Sam. Cat shows up, but Sophia kills White, thinking it was him, but it was Cat.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
end.
Okay.
That's the end of the film.
Your phone just autocorrected show to shoes.
Those
Yeah,
shoes.
you're good. You're all
I
good.
mean, that middle part I also don't understand. Find Sam. Does he find Sam and Sophia? Or Sophia is trying to warn Sophia was trying to warn Sam.
No,
No.
White came up and he was like, my daughter has done these bad things
Okay.
and I didn't expect it. And then Sophia shows up and shoots him, and then Sam's
Yes.
like, hey, it wasn't him.
That was wrong.
But
Okay.
it was
yes.
definitely the girl who's staring at us right now outside the window. So
Yeah, and
we're fucked.
she's what, a football field away.
Space time doesn't matter in this movie.
Because then suddenly Sophia is right out in front of her, 15 feet away. Like they're going to have a 1700 style duel.
Oh yeah, both have guns out. One has the bedazzled gun.
Love a bedazzled gun.
Mm-hmm. The other has the gun from the car.
And then Kat kills herself.
Yeah.
So, but first, and I can decipher this note, but let me read it to you. Sophia's I'm driving, him reciting the AA thing. So Sophia's mom was driving home from AA reciting the like,
Give me
God
grace
grant
for
me
the
the
things
courage to accept what I cannot change, et cetera, et cetera. And she pulls up right as Kat kills herself. Sam is trying to stop her, but like Sophia's mom just had this like Zen evening and pulls up and sees this. Jesus Christ. Like you cannot leave 12-year-olds alone.
Should have had another G&T at AA.
Man, yeah, that was the longest ANA meeting ever. I have no idea how time worked in this movie. I agree. It's got to be like, you should leave. Wait, what was the name of the movie? The Kevin Bacon movie.
You should have left. Don't come in here. You should go now.
Yeah, I think it's like you should have left. Like there was a weird time continuum around
It's actually called You Should Have Left.
Yeah, it's called You Should Have Left.
That's not a good name. So then it's the end, and we see Sam doing her manifest.
Kat.
Yeah, sorry, Kat doing
Kat.
her manifest. Yeah.
But
wait, what happened to Sam?
She's going to be
survived?
traumatized forever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we don't. This is the thing. We don't get any sort of denouement about anything.
Yeah, we don't know what happens to anybody. We don't know what happens to Sam. We don't know what happens to Sophia.
Sam and the mom and everyone just, there's no payoff for how their lives are. We cut immediately to a completely different format of film style with just a cascade of all of the things that happen on the internet. And then we get one sort of YouTube screen of Kat talking about how people are going to know her and that she's going to become famous because she's going to win the game. What the fuck was the game? This is the thing that I don't understand at all about the social media. Like, no one implies in any capacity that this is a game. And I've never heard of anybody referring to getting likes as winning the game.
The biggest thing that I thought was the most messed up about this, if you watch the trailer, it says based on true events.
Oh, shit.
As somebody who did a ton of research on this to figure out what the true event fucking was, it was just her asking that child what she sees as horror.
Oh, fuck.
I truly asked her.
I was angry. I was like, the moment I was like, you should have not put that in the trailer. If it was based on true events, I was like, oh, maybe they're basing it on the Slender Man, like what Slender Man was based, like the two girls who ended up
would have been a better movie.
Friend. So I was like, maybe it's that. I was like, maybe they're basing it off that. And I would have probably given it a grain of like, okay.
But even that wasn't cyberbullying. She was legitimately their friend. They were just like, we want to be a proxy for Slender Man. Like, oh.
Yep.
This movie
but there was no, the true facts is cyberbullying happens. Unfriended did it better.
Unfriended did it better.
Yeah.
That's my summation for this movie. When did Unfriended come out? Was it before or after? Also, this movie premiered at MoMA. Did I tell you guys that?
Unfriended was 2014. Is that what you asked?
Oh, this came out in 2015. Okay, cool. Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Yep.
If you guys want to watch it. I don't ever want to tell anybody not to watch a movie. I would say watch it, and then you can understand all the things that we're frustrated with.
Seriously, like, have a group of people.
It's on Plex for free.
Watch this as like a party experience where it's in the background and you're not really paying attention. Because it is, I mean, as a backdrop to just strangeness, it is, I think, an exceptional art piece. It's a lot of weird art chunks swirled together in a stew of nonsense.
Yeah.
But
visually it makes sense, yeah.
But trying to watch it from beginning to end and fathom what meaning is here is frustrating, as evidenced by all of our conversation.
Yeah. This one was frustrating. Chelsea, which movie do you prefer, this or Color Me Blood Red?
Color Me Blood Red. Yeah. I even said right after I watched it, I would watch Color Me Blood Red like twice.
Yeah, because at least Color Me Blood Red had those fun sayings. We're on the patio, daddy-o.
Yeah. Well, like I'm glad though, because I enjoy the ones that we watch that are terrible, because I feel like I have more feelings about them and I can say more about them.
I don't know. I felt like I was really having to dig deep for this one.
I was like, I have a lot to say. It's not good, but it's there.
Yeah, I just think like this is such a
Yeah, put a bow on it. Put a bow on it.
We continue to find that despite the fact that cyberbullying is an ever-present reality in our world, it is almost impossible for people to make good horror out of. And I wonder if that is because good horror comes from prescribing impossibilities onto everyday life rather than trying to make what actually happens into the premise for a horror, right? Like a slasher movie is about something that almost never happens, which is a person escapes an insane asylum and murders a bunch of teens. Like that doesn't actually happen most of the time. Cyberbullying leading to suicide happens rather frequently, horrifyingly so. And so when you're trying to make that into the reason for horror, it breaks that suspension of disbelief that makes it titillating, I guess. Like I didn't lose myself at any point in this movie. No. I never felt, and some of that is just how jarringly it is assembled. But some of that is that it never lets you. It's never giving you a moment to relax and feel like you are comfortable in what is going on so that your guard comes down. I at no point lowered my guard for any of #horror because the girls are awful to each other. The adults are awful to each other.
And to the kids.
And to the kids, there is a murder from moment one, and it's just the pedal is to the floor from there on out. So at no point do you go, oh, this is the breath point where we're going to get a dummy jump scare. I'm going to get faked out, and then I'm going to relax again. This doesn't build anything up. It just keeps piling vitriol on top of vitriol until eventually it boils over into murder that isn't even gratuitous in a way that's exciting.
Yeah.
You know, the kills aren't like cool.
No,
it's not like
not.
Saw kills or anything.
No.
It's not interesting. They're barely shot with, like they're shot with a cold indifference to the whole situation, which parallels, I guess, the cold indifference of everybody else in the movie to each other. But it's fucking brutal. It's just watching, how long was this? Like 98 minutes or something? It's not that long. The movie is just sort of like it's just holding a horrible mirror up to every possible worst inclination we could have about young people, social media, and adults in the 21st century with no message or reward or solace to be taken.
And I think that you hit on something there, saying that holding up a mirror to every type of bad thing we can imagine.
Yeah.
That was the problem, was that it was every type of bad thing, not like a realistic version of a human. It was like, here is every bad trope boiled into 4 little girls, you know?
And to go back to that, wasn't like Georgina was bulimic and Sophia cut herself. But they just kind of glossed over that.
No, Sophia didn't cut herself. Sam did.
She cut herself on her stomach when she was in the bathroom.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah,
you know what? One of my notes was, wait, what was Sophia doing in the bathroom?
She was cutting herself on her stomach to be in a non-visible place.
Oh,
yeah.
Sophia.
So, like, they had a lot more in common than they could have. I mean, that is a nice commentary on 12-year-old girls, is they have a lot in common that they don't understand that they actually have. Damn it, I don't want to justify or say anything positive about this film. I'm going to be honest with you. So, like, I don't want to defend it. It fell too heavily in that. And it was like, I'm just going to pull out every little thing about a person, like, about something that could happen to a 12-year-old girl that's negative.
Yeah, it's like...
And I was like, it wouldn't happen in one afternoon. I'm sorry. That just all wouldn't happen in one afternoon.
Right.
If you want to cut this film up into a couple of days of getting to know the characters and then them accumulating to this stupid slumber party, then okay. But I like having it all happen on that day where she was like, oh, I'm just going to go upstairs and cut myself while I'm having this event with my friends. She probably does that when she feels lonely, not when she's out there with her friends. I don't know. I just have... It's
perpetuating the problem they're trying to comment on. Like the problem that we're trying to take a lens to is that, yes, little girls and boys, little young people are like, they experience these complex issues, but when you reduce them to those issues, you're exacerbating the issue.
Exactly.
And that's what this movie did.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't ever get to know anybody enough to care deeply about what's going on, and the movie doesn't respect any of their issues to spend any time on them.
No, they're like those are almost the jump scares of the movie, you know? Like they're like little, they're just a quick 2-second frame here, a quick 4-second frame here. Like they're just little shock value moments.
I mean, it would have made more sense, and I know this is a horror cliche, but it would have been more meaningful to have some sort of idyllic group of friends in contrast to something going on in social media. Instead of leaning so hard into just everybody being so awful. I mean, we all kind of expect, when you feel toxicity in the air for the entirety of the movie, you're just expecting something fucked up to happen.
Yeah.
And the longer and longer the movie runs and Kat doesn't come back, you're like, well, I mean, it's got to be Kat, right? Because she would have come back by now. We would have seen her again. Like, that's the other thing. After Kat runs away into the woods, she is not present in the film in any capacity until the very end, which is so, I mean, that does such a disservice to her struggle and her mental illness, or whatever we want to call it, to just say, oh, well, she just becomes a non-human because she's snapped into this animalistic thing, but we're not going to tell you why or how or show you her struggling with it. Yeah. It's kind of gross.
It felt like an art piece that had a message that didn't come across and it shouldn't have been a movie. Like, it shouldn't have been, there was no real narrative that made sense in it for, like, in the concept of movie. But if, to your point, if it was just on silent and on in the background, I would want to watch it if I saw it in the background, if I didn't hear the dialogue, if I didn't understand what was going on. It would make me interested. However, as a movie, it just doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I think that when I saw those Candy Crush cuts, I'd be like, nah.
I wouldn't mind them if it didn't have the abrasive sound that went along with them. I think it would be like, and the gunshots.
I don't know,
like,
man.
it just had a lot of
were
noise.
Very bad.
What?
That's a no from me, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real no.
It's a bummer. Yeah, it was hard to get through.
Hard pass.
I'm looking forward to our next movie, though.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have so much fun with the next movie.
So Nate brought up a good question when we were talking about doing Pulse. He asked if we were going to do the original, and neither Chelsea nor myself knew that there was an original. So we are doing the remake.
Idea.
Yeah, there's a 2001 Japanese horror version of
which I'm compelled by.
I
do want to watch it, but for the podcast, we're going to do the remake.
Yeah, no, great cast. I'm really looking forward to it. Not just because of the cast. I did watch it a long time ago, and I remember enjoying it when I watched it.
Okay, so that will come out next week.
It's got 69 photos on IMDb.
Nice. So this has been Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And Nate Ragolia was our guest today. Nate, do you want to plug where people can find you? Nate is waving for the
I'm waving. I'm waving on this audio medium. It's so helpful. Yeah, if you like listening to me talk, you can hear me talk on A Vague Idea, a podcast that I do. It's a comedy trivia podcast. We explore individual topics. And both Kelly and Chelsea will be on the show very soon again. And they've been on before. So that's an exciting bit of meat for you. Tantalizing, right? Yeah. You can also listen to my other podcast, Streets of Mage, which is a Dungeons & Dragons podcast. You go to rollforplank.simplecast.com, or you go to avagueidea.simplecast.com, or you tweet at me at Nate Ragolia.
Perfect. Yay. So we will see you next week for Pulse. Okay. Happy Spookies.
Happy Spookies.
Happy Spookies.
Bye.